Hi everyone, welcome back to Symbiosis 5 Weekends. It's truly heartwarming to see so many familiar faces in the room. So over the past 2 weekends, we have followed the mentees as they share their stories around exhibition works that mark their growth through 9 months of this program. So right now, we have the distinct privilege to hear from the mentors themselves about their reflections on the mentorship journey and the future of calligraphic art. Unscripted, unfiltered, and real talk only. To the four mentors of Symbiosis 5, Heather Held, Gabriela Soba, Marina Soria, Randall Hasson, in conversation with the curator and founder of the Art of Letters, Dorothy Lim Chu. The room is yours.
Okay, thanks, Judith. Here we go. Very happy to have in the room the mentor. So Marina is coming back. She has come back for the fourth time. Am I right? Fourth time? Third
Three.
time. Gabby,
Every other year.
every other year. Gabby has been back for also three or
Three.
three. And then Heather for two. And Randall this is the first time
It's my
that you
fifth time. It's my fifth time.
Right. Yeah. So maybe we will start with Marina. Back for the fourth time. Has there been anything different that you experienced this year? Have you seen the way that Symbiosis has gone? What are your thoughts actually?
I think it gets better and better as time passes by because we earned experience, we learn a lot of things, we are inspired by our own students. Even the platform, I think you, Dorothy, are much more trained than in the beginning because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And maybe the students have more and more skills, and sometimes they surprise us very happily. So actually, I think it's getting better, just like anything else, like wine or cheese. When you have more time, it becomes better, tastes
Oh,
better.
nice. What about Gabby back for the third time? Actually, between your second and third time, you didn't have a gap, right? You wanted to just jump right in. How has it been for you this time? Cycle 5.
For me, I think it's different each time because of the mentees, Each group is totally different from the other one. So that's the different things to me.
Yeah, I remember that Gabby, your first group, they were a bit shy. The first cycle, very shy. And then the second group, you have all the Latina, Spanish-speaking ladies. And then they were just very, very communicative. And then this third group, I suppose it's a balance, maybe?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This group, yes, Nadine is shy and Tatiana is not. And Alma is also very nice. So no, very different people, but you know,
Hmm.
we can adapt, I think.
It's true. Yeah. What about Heather? This is your second time doing Symbiosis.
Yeah, I agree with both what Gabby and Marina have said. The fact that I'm experiencing it for the second time, all of my jitters or lack of understanding of how the process worked were gone. So
Wow.
I had there wasn't that feeling of pressure that I felt the first years, like how do I do this? So that was just a real relief. And I really felt that this year I could totally just sort of relax and experience and really get to know my mentees without worrying about the platform, without worrying about what was expected of me because I knew it. And it made a huge difference. So, and I agree that you are just so much more experienced with everything and all of the requirements. It just becomes like, yeah, this is just how we do it, and you roll out the requirements. So it was a really good year.
Nice, nice. And I think that you had so much fun with your girls this year.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a friendship, not just there was just no distance between any of us. I felt that.
Nice. I remember during Gail's presentation, she was talking about how you had introduced her, to down the rabbit hole of embroidery. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh my, this would have been so fun for Heather, just to experience all of that through your mentee's eyes again.
It
So
was
cool.
wonderful. It was really good. Yeah.
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 Nice, nice. So Randall, first time.
Well, it's interesting because I heard about this initially through Heather.
Yeah.
She was telling me what was going on, and so I didn't have experience, but I sort of knew what to expect because one of the things that I used to do was to do a live class on a monthly basis, and the last one that I did was on you. And so I
Yeah.
was able to actually interview you and interview some of the mentors and interview some of the students, and so I kind of walked in sort of thinking, oh, what I'm going to do is sort of come alongside some really talented artists and then just have a group in synergy. And so it's been really, really wonderful way to watch everybody sort of connect and become really close and exchange ideas and help each other. It's been quite an experience that, and also observing how much work you put in just to put this whole thing together. I'm just kind of in awe of your energy, despite your left arm. Was it your left arm? Yeah, right.
Right,
Yeah,
right
despite
arm.
yeah, okay. Oh yeah, you're writing left-handed now. That's yes. Yeah.
Was there like a difference between the reality and expectation for you, Randall?
No, not honestly, no.
Wow, that's great.
No. It was probably better than I mean, it was probably better than I expected, but it was, yeah, no, it was great.
Great, great. So I know that you said something in one of the presentations, Randall, earlier that you noticed that it was very cathartic. Can you expand on that thought? Do you remember that you said that?
Yeah. I think that there was a couple of people in the group um, that Young Hae lost both of her parents. Arlene had lost her mom. It was a way to sort of work through Young Hae's sort of grieving process, I guess, and having her be able to say, well, how am I going to visually articulate this, how I feel about my parents, and then watching both her and Arlene take the same text and have such different outcomes.
Oh, yeah.
There was also I also watched Nan Nan go through this sort of arc where she's a researcher and she was like, well, I want to understand how all this stuff works, and she just the experiments and things that she did, and then watching each of them gain probably Arlene and Nan most gain confidence. I don't put Juan Luis in there because he's so talented and experienced anyway. I think he just maybe went in a direction he hadn't gone before. But I mean, as we all saw in his demo, he just has such a great design eye. It's pretty natural for him. So the cathartic thing, I think, was really beautiful to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. This year, I think more than maybe it's, I don't know if I'm right to say this, but more than other years, I've seen a lot of tears in the presentation, both from the mentors. I know Gabby, cried a lot. I mean, or you were ready to cry over the works of your mentees, right? When you finally saw them coming to a point of breakthrough. Maybe you want to share something about that. Because you saw them struggling, and then finally, when you saw the pieces, I think you were very moved. Gabby?
This year has had its ups and downs. Some of my mentees wanted to give up, but fortunately, the time each of us devoted to enjoy or our own artistic moments paid off. We all made it in time for the presentations, I think.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult because of Nadine's pregnancy. She was struggling with health problems, the headaches. She was very tired. To understand the things that you are going through, your body is changing. And Alma wasn't happy at first time with her work, or how she could manage to understand how to do this or do that, different kind of tools. What can I do? We have, when you are creating art, you have ups and downs, and you are like as yourself, no? But you have time in this program, you have time to create something between this month and this month. So you need to focus.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult that. But they did it very well. I'm very proud.
Yeah. I've seen in the chat, right? Because the groups added me into their chats in different ways. So I have been in Gabriela's group's chat, and Gabby has been such a cheerleader. She is always telling them, you can do it. You're doing great. It's looking good. So I think, yeah, as a mentor, that would be one of your roles. Am I right? That you are there to cheer them on?
Yes.
What happens when you feel like they seem to be going off in the wrong direction? Were there
No,
ever
it's not wrong direction, I think. It's not wrong. It's like, what do you think about your work? Take time. And do you think it's right? Do you like it? What is better for your work? So sometimes I need to put in the other,
perspective?
to think about how she can manage this, but without, I don't want to say something to change her mind, to help her, but not to change it. So sometimes it's like, what do you think if you write in a very big surface instead of this small paper? Or focus in each letter at time, and then you can try with a different kind of color palettes. Then you can try with the different tools, and you can try with the different. So you put order. It's like that.
Right. So your role, I mean, I really appreciate that about all the mentors, that you understand that you're not here to bend them to a certain your vision of who you think they can be or should be. I really appreciate that, because sometimes, this is what some people are afraid of, that if I come under a teacher and they're very strong, then will I become just like them, right? Yeah, but I think that you have all managed to balance that out and help them to find their voice. Yeah. Marina, do you want to pitch in on that thought? Because you are so your students went through the same creative process. They had so for Marina's group, she started them thinking about what is meaningful for them, important to them, what is a fabric, a textile that they want to use as a point of inspiration. And everyone went through the same process with the same starting point, but they ended up so different. The art that they produced was so very different. So maybe, Marina, you want to share a bit of your process and what you were trying to accomplish? Yeah.
The very first things I asked them is, what did they think art was? Art was. What did they expected from me, and what did they wanted to achieve? So first of all, that were the questions they had to reply back. So in that process, they start doing the thinking, because most of the time you're just part of a bunch of people. Everybody's doing this, so let's do it. And you haven't stopped to think about it. Why do you want to do this? And it is a long period of time you have to devote, and a lot of time you will be focusing on something, and you have to finish the process. You can't quit in the middle, unless, of course, there is an extraordinary event going on. But supposedly this is something that you really commit for the whole process. And of course, then I will ask them, do you have something in mind before suggesting a theme? Most of the time, they don't have something in mind. Nobody, at least in the first 3 seasons I have come up, has told me, I have an idea. I want to do this. Nobody said that. So that's why I always start with, I suggest a theme that it is as big as possible, so that it could fit anybody. And the theme is not always a theme, like literally speaking. Like when I teach the inner garden, I'm not talking about a garden literally, although many people will work on plants and trees and, and a garden. But the inner garden is a life, a lifetime. So the different seasons will represent the different moments of your life. And with the textile text, it's not literal, although we start from a textile, and from that textile, what we are getting is a narrative, like a storytelling. Like there is something behind that textile that you have never thought about, but makes a lot of sense within your life. And you are attached to that because it has memories of you as a child or whatever. And the process of going through that, in the beginning it's unconscious, and through different steps and different, let's say, chapters, you figure out. I keep on asking questions and questions because, for me, the important thing is a question. It's not the answer. The answer has to be done graphically. You don't do the explanation. You just put it on paper, and then we can correct that. And it's not even correct. We can exchange ideas if I see things on paper. If I don't see things on paper, my imagination is great, and I believe that everybody's imagination is great. But that's not the truth. Because I could be thinking of something while you're telling me your story, and you're not thinking of the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's my approach, actually.
Nice. Randall, you want to add to what she was saying, because you were nodding vigorously?
Yeah, I think it's funny because what Marina said is so important, and it's one of my favorite quotes that I've ever put on a painting is, it's not the answer that enlightens, it's the question, and I think that's the most important part. And then Anna,
can I ask you a question? Do you think Thomas said that to us? Because it has always remained in my mind, and I don't know where did it come from.
No, it was that quote, you mean?
Yeah, that quote, that thinking.
No, that was it was a playwright, of an artist or playwright that said it in a play called Decavertes. I can't remember, the guy's name was Eugene somebody, and I know that because I couldn't figure. But Anna in the chat said, when you're teaching something so subjective as art, how do you manage as mentors to avoid imposing your own style or taste? And that answers that. It's like, well, you ask questions, and like you, Marina, I asked everybody to fill out a little questionnaire, like, why are you here, and what do you want to do, and what are you trying to accomplish? And each of them had a little bit of a different answer, but the questions were more important than the answers. And I think that's because they all have experience and they all have ideas. And I'm not. So Anna, how you avoid it is you don't be the expert. You just be a guide, maybe.
I
That's what
call
I think.
myself like a coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? I found that when I was thinking about some of the questions, like, for example, Marina asked her mentees to look at a piece of textile that has some meaning for them. I started to wonder about that for myself, and I found it very difficult. And I was wondering why that was so. And I come to the thought process that I have is that when a person doesn't really pay attention to themselves, what do they like? What do they not like? What do they think? What do they not think? When they don't have that introspection, they don't have a good place to start to think about art making. Am I right?
Well, I think, sorry, but being an artist is showing yourself through an art. So if you don't have anything to show, what are you going to put on the paper, on the canvas, or whatever? You have to have a way of thinking, an emotionality, a storytelling. There must be something that pushes you forward, and you want to convey these stories on a graphic way or an artistic way for people to relate, to feel empathy. But you have to have something to say.
Yeah.
You need to say something that is meaningful for you.
Right. Would you say that is a good way to make a distinction between art and graphic design, say, for instance?
Yes, it's very different. For me, it's very different.
What is the biggest difference?
When you are designing something, you know what you need to do to sell something, or your client demands something that you need to achieve. And it's very different, that kind of combination of things in the that for yourself as an artist, to combine the composition or the work with your thinking and your feelings. There's a lot of things mixing. I think it's very different.
As a graphic designer, you have to convey the idea of the client. You're not conveying your own ideas. Not always you love what you're doing, because you just have to do it because that's what the client wants.
It's how to sell something.
Totally different. Something
Yeah.
is personal. Being an artist is being personal and having the courage of exposing yourself and the vulnerability of, like, being naked in front of a person.
Yeah.
As a graphic designer, sometimes you need to work with color palettes that you don't like, or with letters that this is not the best, but they need it for each reason. I don't know.
Yeah, Heather is agreeing. Would you like to chime in?
Yeah, I like Heather's quote. She put in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know what my quote was in the chat.
We're sort of like lighthouses, just trying to guide our mentees on the path they were on.
Oh, that's nice.
Absolutely. That's what I felt we were doing. We can't stop anything that's happening in their lives. We can't protect them from any storms. We can just like, here we are. Let's keep going this way. But as far as like graphic arts and artistry, the graphic arts is like when you're doing something as a graphic artist, it's complete conformity to what that client wants. And you're just like, it's like turn off your brain and you just have to do what the client wants. Where the art is like anything I want to do can come on the page. And that's what I really wanted my mentees to do is to go back to what Anna's question was, is like how to stop imposing your own ideas. What did they have? It was this gift of 9 months, this gift of time where they had to carve out for themselves and create whatever they wanted to dream up. And how many times in life do we get to do that? Almost none, right? So that's really what I wanted to bring out with my mentees, and that's really what I feel the distinction is with artistry. You get to do what you love to do and bring it to life. And who cares what that audience is? It's for an audience of one. It's for you and what you want to bring out.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. So well said. Because sometimes I do see our mentees struggling with their training towards perfection. They make perfect letters, or maybe their training in the graphic design past education has kind of instructed them in a way with that mental frame. So I see them struggling when you give them like, you can do anything, you can say anything, express anything, and then they are like frozen, paralyzed, because they don't know where to start, So how do you help them to break out of that paralysis if you do see that happening? Or have you seen that happening? Anybody?
Well, I just want to say, sorry, go ahead, Randy. Go ahead.
No, I'd much
Well, okay. Well, what I was going to say, I think as
prefer hearing
calligraphic
from you.
artists, so coming from the background of calligraphy, there is a lot of perfection that is expected of that like that artist. Make this letter perfect. And I have heard instructors say it must be this way. And I shut off. When I hear an instructor tell me it has to be this way, I'm gone. Because I want to bring some form of expression, especially to calligraphic art. So I think that there may be more of a tendency in the art of letters is bringing letters artistically to the page. There may be that hurdle of the perfectionist mind. So I think it's very real. And I just, as my own, like what I want to do as an artist when I come to my calligraphic work is make it expressive. So I like to give my students that permission to make it expressive without, like, I'm not a gestural artist. I admire the heck out of that stuff, but just make it beautiful,
Yeah, Randy?
So I'd say if we take this out of the context of letters and we just think about all of the arts, think about music, think about writers, the people, there's a certain plane, there's a certain journey that you take to learn technically. So technically, I'm going to learn Romans, or I'm going to learn italic, or I'm going to learn pick your hand, whatever that is. But once you've learned that, that becomes a tool. The tool is I'm going to use this tool in order to visually articulate what I want. And so if you think about all these other arts, you can think about, people who sing, and they sing like Adele, for example. They try to sing like Adele, but that's not their individual voice. They're trying to be somebody else. That's what we begin by copying other people. But once we master certain things, then take a look at it and say, well, how do we make it our own individual thing? And so the best songs, the best books, the best artwork, those things, when they're actually coming from an individual heart and soul, and they're actually digging deep, that comes through to the viewer or the listener. And I think that's the whole point, which is goes back to Heather's point about being a lighthouse, and Marina's point about asking the questions, and Gabby's point about, well, here's the difference between graphic arts where you're trying to accomplish somebody else's goal versus what's coming from your heart, is that when you get to the individual and the individual expression, Arlene being a perfect example, she's a really, really fine lettering artist, but she's a painter. And so it's like, no, go in that direction, just refine that. And I think that's the important point, is to get people to tap into what they want to do rather than what somebody else is saying they should do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So one of the goals for the Art of Letters, all of us know, or some of us may not know, is to promote calligraphic art and to bring it to the audience and help them to recognize that we are a category in ourselves. So that when people say, oh, I'm going to buy some art for my wall, they will not just think paintings, or, they will also think maybe calligraphy or calligraphic art. And so that was one of the objectives for the Art of Letters. And I just want to ask all of you, how to give me a sort of evaluation about how you think we are doing so far, as far as achieving this goal. I know that's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, when I started, I know that it will be a long journey. I don't know whether, I'm good. Are we going the right direction? Is this helping? Marina, I know this has been your dream as well, and you have done a lot to bring calligraphy to your world by using textiles as a language. Yeah.
I would say that in a world that is so polluted with things going on and communication and media, it is so difficult to stand up or stand out from the crowd. But if you think in that sense, you feel like a little bit disappointed. But when you think on that would be the macro. I don't know even if I'm translating properly. Macro would be the big picture. And if you go into the micro, which is the world in which we can have an impact, let's say, I think you're doing an impact. At least you have been doing an impact to all these mentees and mentors that have taken their shift on the 5 years of Symbiosis. And although not everybody will become an artist, and that is something that we have to face, because most people will have other things that consider more important in life. But if you can get at least, I don't know, 5 artists from all the mentees that have been going through the whole process, I think that's
progress.
Good progress. And the other thing I have been suggesting and challenging and pushing my students is to post their work on the best windows we have in calligraphy, and that is Letter Arts Review. Letter Arts Review is the most important issue or magazine from the calligraphic arts today. I have searched around the world to figure out who else is doing something for calligraphy in the consistency of letter arts, and I haven't found it. Maybe some specific guild, maybe Carl Roars with his I don't know, he's an editor or the designer of the FOC, San Francisco calligraphers. But that is a guild from a specific place, while the other one is something international, because you see works from people in China, in Japan, in the Middle East, all over the world. So I challenge my students to submit their works to Letter Arts Review, because the more pieces that say in their statement, this was a work done in the art of letters, that benefits the project. That is in the benefit of everybody, of the project and of the artist and of the mentor and of the mentees, everything. So that is my thought.
Okay, great. What about Randall? What do you think? Because you've been on both sides of the equation, right? You own a gallery, sold art, you produce your own pieces.
I'm not sure I'm going to have super pertinent things to say. I agree with Marina about Letter Arts Review. I can't submit to Letter Arts Review because their definition is where letters are the most prominent thing, and my goal is not to get into Letter Arts Review. My goal is to create something where perhaps that's not the case. There's, if you look at the work, there's tons of letters on my work, but visually image is prominent, not letters. So what I do know with Letter Arts Review is that it has a wide range of artists who are really remarkable lettering artists and who have done things with letters or parts of letters, or whether it be more realistic or abstract. My goals was always to have something that somebody didn't have to walk up and read, but rather that they could look at, and then if they wanted to delve deeper. So my goals were different. My goals were visual first, and letters were the tool to sort of enhance what I was trying to say, but without having to be read and then walk by. So that worked in the gallery because the visual would touch people first, and then the if they agreed with what was being said on the visual, then that would result in somebody taking a piece or living with a piece. So a little bit maybe different, but I think what I keep seeing is there's these designs coming out of these artists, which are they stand alone. They can stand on the wall. They have a good design element, white space and color and emphasis within abstract or realistic letters that I think can stand on anybody's wall. It's just a matter of how do you get them out there and not have people think that they could have bought that for $8 at a discount store.
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we've been seeing over the years is that there are many categories, right? Like so Randall, you were talking about how the works that you produce are more visual focus. I mean, as in the weightier component would be the visuals, and then we have the other end of the spectrum where the words would be, more weighted. And then there is the acidic writing and the gestural writing where you can, legibility is not a criteria. So in the whole, and then you have the gilding and, the ornamental writing and so forth. So there is all these different categories, right? Do you think that it's important for us as a community to categorize these things neatly and then in our presentation to the rest of the world to encourage them to purchase our art so they can understand what is it that they're buying? Because it makes sense to us, but if I were to tell my art collector friend, hey, would you like to come and see our exhibition on calligraphic art? They always ask me, what is calligraphic art? And I have this difficulty of explaining to them because it spans a very big range, right? So what do you think is a good way forward?
Can I just jump in real
Yes,
quick,
please.
even though I just dominated the conversation a
No,
minute ago?
don't worry. Yeah, go ahead.
So I, as an adult, went back to school to get that degree. I never got 30 years before. It was during our recession here in the US. Well, I guess it was a world around 2008 or so. And one of the classes that I took was a class called New Venture Marketing. And so it had all these kids, and it was like, if you were going to start a business, how would you start the business and how would you market yourself? And I was lucky because I'd had a gallery and I had collectors. And so I wrote all my collectors and said, please tell me how you would describe the artwork you have hanging on your wall. And I had people say, well, gee, it's a narrative painting. It tells a story. Or I would call it a contemplative painting because you could sit with it and read, and was trying to figure all these things out. And I got back a bunch of responses. And what I ended up coming up with was paintings that inspire conversation, because these people would describe, somebody would come into their house and they'd walk over to the painting and they'd start reading a little bit and it would start a conversation. So and I think that can be one of the elements of either abstract or traditional calligraphy is something that starts a conversation because something literal is being said. So that's what my experience was.
Okay, cool.
In my case, here in Argentina, where you don't have a guild, you don't have instructions, like professional instructions, that it's barely known within the graphic design world. I submit my work to other disciplines because I don't fit anywhere. It's not
Right.
paint, it's not specifically drawing. It has the line. We are working with a line, but you can't grab on the line to say you're doing drawing. And I found out that the textile arts were one of the most open-minded disciplines and would take whatever was left in the way. and if you could think of something like I figured out this metaphor, like words as stitches and text as if it were textile, there I would fit. And as regards calligraphy, they didn't know a thing. What calligraphy is, what our grannies did in their little books at school. So they don't have a knowledge. They don't know what is good or what is bad. So they just see the piece as if it were a piece of art. They just like it or not like it, the composition, the colors, design, emotions, no, not emotions. But they never mention the word calligraphy at all. They don't know the rules. So that they don't even recognize when we are breaking the rules, or when we don't know how to do the proper way. So,
yeah,
probably the problem is ours, that we want to categorize. And I understand this because we love letters, and probably that's the main thing. But I have never ever seen, neither in Letter Arts Review nor in any other place except on Brody Neuspanders or classes, works that have to do with letters or typography that are exhibited in museums, but we have never heard about them. We don't know the artist, we don't know the techniques, we know nothing about that. And even asemic writing, barely few people on the calligraphic world know what asemic writing is. It falls more in the side of the arts rather than calligraphy. I think
asemic writing is a very good exercise for you to lose that afraid feeling about calligraphy.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Anyway, Greeking, as Randy puts it, Yeah, Judith, you have a bunch of questions from the floor, from the room. Maybe you want to direct the questions to our mentors.
We actually do have a few similar questions. Let me group it. So I think some of the people in the room were wondering, what do you learn as mentors during this mentorship? And is there something that you learn from your students to be a better artist? These are two related questions.
Good questions. So what do you learn as a mentor? And what did you learn from the students so to make you a better artist?
Can I jump in there?
Yes, please.
So first of all, I think what is most important to learn as a mentor, what really struck me is just how precious these students are, these mentees are. They have their own individual lives and all of their own pressures going on in their own individual lives. And really the number one thing is to just appreciate their journey and what they're going through. And yes, as a mentor, I learn as an instructor, I learned from from my students all the time, just the approach that they take, what they discard as far as any advice, and what they plow through and what they experience. Their tenacity is inspiring, and their dedication is incredibly inspiring. And I think that that is just in this age of online teaching where we don't know what people are doing at their desk. We have no idea if they're doing the work, if they're not doing the work. You get to see what they're actually doing and the dedication that they have. And that is something that is incredibly rewarding about the program.
Wow.
I'm just going to add, Dorothy, a little bit step back to what you were saying about the art of letters. Look at it as a doorway. Don't look at it as, hey, is somebody going to buy this? Consider this. Look at it as a doorway where they can appreciate all of the things that come together in a calligraphic art piece. And does that mean it's like Arlene's paintings that were standalone paintings with just such brilliance? Or is it embroidery? There was a doorway, an entrance that came through the Art of Letters program. And what is produced is just this incredible gift to the world, I think. So maybe that helps you frame it a little bit in your thinking.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like a crack dealer. It's a gateway drug. Is that
That's a great way. Yeah. Get it all hooked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, no death penalty for drug dealing here in Singapore.
Ooh, not good.
Not good. But I get the idea, yeah. Yes, thank you. Thanks for sharing. What about the others? What did you learn? How did it make you a better artist?
Well, I think you always can learn something from anybody that you encounter if you're open and curious. And I think that everybody has something, their experience and everything that they bring to the table and their approach. So I always learn from watching people work. I don't even know that I could point to something specific. It's just more of an absorption than something specific.
Yeah, I totally agree with Randall. I'm always amazed by the students. And that is what I love about having students that I say, they are much better than me. What can I teach them? What can I say to them?
Right.
And the other thing I always train is my patience in not telling the results, in not having the patience they need to mature an idea. Sometimes we are so trained in so many things, in techniques and in ways to resolve a situation, a design, a color problem, whatever, that we want to, well, just do this. And that is the thing this time in particular was a stronger feeling that I had to wait till it was the moment, till they figure it out themselves. I would show everything that is around, but I wouldn't reply. Maybe sometimes it's a question. They ask you directly a question, what should I do here?
Mm.
And you say, I know what you should do, but I'm not going to tell you. You have to figure it out yourself. Because if I tell you, the next time you have an issue, how are you going to solve it? Because I won't be there for you. So it's just like bringing a kid. If you do everything for the kid, then you are bringing up a absolute. I won't say the word.
I know that Heather will show them a lot of books. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, you can
Yeah.
look at this book, and that this other guy has tried this, and maybe you want to consider that. A whole pile of books.
It's true. I think they expand their libraries a little bit, but that's good. It's good. I mean, we refer
Great.
to them. Yeah, it's good.
Right.
Heather's never seen a book she doesn't like.
There's another crack dealer for you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Judith, further questions?
Actually, Marina actually answered one of the questions. Like,
Oh,
were there any difficulties that you had as mentors? Because mentees struggle a lot and we had to grow a lot, right? But mentors as well, they were wondering if you had any struggles. So I think Marina actually answered one of them, the struggle of not giving answers. So that was
But I
beautiful.
wouldn't say that is a struggle, Judy, literally. I just, it's just like a little bit of salt on these great food we all have around 9 months. So actually, I think it's really a pleasure, and it is so like kind of easygoing. It was a meeting with friends every week, and just excited to see what have they coming up with, what are they doing right now, or what's the problem, whatever.
Talking
I
about
wouldn't,
the madness.
yeah, I wouldn't say it was stressful or what was the word?
Struggles?
Struggles.
Yeah.
I didn't feel any struggles at all. No, not.
Did anyone feel like anything that you felt like, something that could be?
a struggle.
Possibly?
So no, I did not feel a struggle or any sense of discouragement at all in the process. I did feel for sort of the sense of stress and pressure that it may be for the mentees, that they have to produce work. You can't just go away from this. You don't. There's really a lot required of them. But no, it was really a joy to come alongside in a company, and it just felt like an incredible honor and a blessing. And I would say, let me say, because I don't want to tap into what kind of the difficult time this year has been, but I would say that I was drawing a lot from the work that they were producing, and it just kept energizing and energizing me during a difficult time I was having. I don't want to choke up, but yeah, so I really felt very energized by the mentees. And I think it might have been Arlene in the chat saying, sometimes students give up too early on their own work because they want it to look what their vision is in their mind. And that is such an important point that keeps coming back to me as an instructor. Students constantly compare themselves to somebody else. And why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? Instead of respecting their own process and their own journey, that it just takes time. So I really like, my cheerleader is for the Art of Letters program, that you're giving these mentees this gift, really this special gift, that they can work on these things for 9 months. It's very
Ah, great.
Actually, that's true. And actually, when you're talking about learning and all these little ideas you get, right? There was a question by Alicia about cultural exchange because we are so international. Like some of us are up here at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. listening to us. So about the cultural exchange, were there any cultural perspectives or habits, expressions that enriched your experience or even surprised you? And this is open to all the mentors.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, for example, in our group, it was wonderful. I love that fact. Maybe that's one of the main things I'm interested in Symbiosis, the heterogenic world. I had a Japanese student, an Australian student, a student from Colombia, and one from Germany. It was all scattered around the world, and everybody had a different philosophy, culture, language, tradition, way of behavior. Everything was different, but that is the exciting thing about it. You have to get to know, I don't know, the traditions, the special days, the myths and the stories of each different culture. So that makes it much more interesting. Yeah.
And the different materials also.
Yes, we have issues with the
sometimes
papers.
something they use different.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard from the mentees the difficulty of sourcing things or finding alternatives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always something.
But that is something that can be solved. But the way of thinking, that makes it totally different. You have to, as a graphic designer, you have to be on the head of your mentee in order to understand, well, in her world, this should be this world, this way. And in my world, that doesn't fit at all. It has nothing to do with my world. But in her world, this is like that. So I think that is marvelous.
Yeah, it's true.
I maybe off topic. There was somebody who made a comment, or maybe it was in the chat about, and we were just talking about it, wanting to quit because it wasn't what you thought it looked like. I actually have had a couple of paintings where they were done in my head before I ever started them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I wanted them to look like. And every single time, and these are complex, they take 3 months, right? For me, they never looked like what I thought they were going to look like in my head. So if you have something in your head that you think, oh, okay, you have to actually just go through the process. And if you're doing a long-term project, and I'm not sure how many people do these long-term as far as one particular piece, but if you're doing a 2 or 3 month project, there's a certain point where the painting actually begins to communicate back to you and tells you what to do. And I think everybody's had sort of that experience. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like. You just have to keep going on the journey and walking through the doors and figure out what it's going to eventually look like.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to take some distance. You have to go somewhere else and return back with a fresh eye and think, well, it's not that bad. I thought it was horrible. I was going to throw it away, and now I see, oh, it's not that bad. So that happens.
But nowadays we need everything in this moment. So maybe they want the answer now. It's like, what can I do with this? What I should do with this is now. And is for this kind of thing is not in that way. I think it's very different. Sometimes you are writing and you are imagining something. You need time to understand that, go out, come back like 2-3 times, and you see different. You see different. Put it in the wall, wait, try different tools. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, it fix to you.
Yeah, it's true. So in connection with something that Anna asked, she wants to know that as mentors, do you think there is a feeling that you could say is one that artists struggle with the most? Is it fear, self-doubt? when you have coached your mentees, what do they struggle with the most? Randy?
Yeah, I keep telling these guys, you're better than you think you are. Everybody has self-doubt. That's being a part of an artist. You kind of know what you want it to look like. You have to figure out how to get there. You're going to be frustrated when you can't get there, but all of those frustrations are what inform future paintings. And yes, you're better than you think you are.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say there's always that skill gap between the vision you have in your mind and what you can actually produce on the piece. And I think every single artist, every single person, no matter what the discipline is, struggles with that, because how do you close the gap? How do you start to make those skills improve so it matches your vision? And it's how many times I just heard Gabby and Marina both say about being patient and waiting and waiting for these skills to develop, and the practice and the discipline and the fact that you show up and you do it, it helps to close the gap. So we just have to be patient.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's beautiful. Basically, please, Gabby, please.
No, I was thinking in some different kind of students. Sometimes they work in different works at the same time, So I was thinking about like focus in one, then you go for the other one. Because in the other way you are like, I can't with this, I go with that, I don't like this. So you need time to focus in each thing. I think.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's very wonderful for a mentee to look at you and understand that when you are doing your art, you also struggle, and that you don't mind, that struggling is a part of the process. And to hear it from you, like, wow, what, Marina, you went through this, or Gabby, you struggle, or Heather, or Randy. And I think that gives them a lot of confidence. It gives them permission to struggle. And this is so precious. I mean, it's not easy to struggle, right? And for somebody to be next to you in your ear and saying, you're doing great, just keep trying, something's gonna happen, just show up every day. I think that's just precious. This is something that I really treasure about the mentorship, is that you are giving them permission to have doubt and to fear and to struggle and to say it's okay. This is the process. Yeah. Marina, please go ahead.
And to fail. And sometimes
Yes.
failing is a success in the long run. But you have to keep on working on the failing, because sometimes, and I have had this situation so many times in my life as an artist, like something was not going the way I wanted. And just recently, there was an exhibition taking place here in Buenos Aires. It was an important textile art exhibition. And I was submitting one of the pieces I brought from Bruges. When I opened the package, just to put the book, to take the book to the exhibition, the book was broken. The covers were out of the book, and I didn't have the time to glue them back because they wouldn't dry in time. And I thought in that moment, patience is the only thing that will save me. I have to figure out something quickly, successfully, and don't stress at all. What is the worst thing that can happen to me? Well, I don't participate in the contest. And that way of thinking, and I am telling this story because I was surprised of myself. Taking this attitude that what is the worst thing that can happen? And that is the thing that you always have to, what is the worst thing that can happen? I have to do it again. What's the big problem? You need more time. Okay, you need more time. That's it. And then eventually I pull it off. I redo it. I won't tell you how I did it, but the piece won the second prize. And so
Wow.
I said, the universe is pricing me not with the second price, is pricing me with my patience and my non-stressing to figure out a solution.
So cool. That is so cool.
Actually, those stories that you're all sharing, they're all resonating with a lot of people in the audience. They're like commenting. I love Elma's comment when she says she gives her student a project where the best grade goes to the one who fails the worst. You know, sometimes like having people
Bravo.
who celebrate the mistakes or like even things that potentially feel wrong but are celebrated because they teach
For
you
me, the
something.
problem is that you call it mistake. I don't call it mistake. I call it experimenting. So something is not working as you thought it would work. But maybe if you give it a chance, it would work in some other opportunity, in some other situation, within another context. And it does. I have found it happened to me so many times that I am so enthusiastic about this idea. Don't take it as a failure, take it as an experience, and then that experience will prove important in some other situation.
That's so encouraging. Yeah.
You
it
know,
is.
there's a class that I've taught for years in journals, and the way that I paint is in layers. And to build on Alma's statement, it's usually a 3 or more day class, and usually about the first or second day they've messed around and they splash paint, and I'll ask everybody, how many people have really, really ugly pages? And everybody raises their hand. And I'm like, perfect. They're exactly where you're supposed to be. We're going to make them look better later because we're doing layering. So it's, yeah, I like Alma's statement. She's obviously an experienced teacher.
Yeah, it's true. Well, maybe to end off, we can ask you, mentors, to share a favorite memory that you have of this past 9 months. Do you have a favorite memory or a takeaway, something that you know that is a highlight for you?
I think honestly, I think that the incredible takeaway from this is just watching the dedication. Like, I don't know, Dorothy, if you really appreciate or no, I know you appreciate, but really understand just how hard they work because they really want to measure up to the program. And I think this year coming back for the second time, I really appreciated just watching that work ethic. And again, it's a very authentic journey. And I think that is my biggest takeaway because my three just came from such diverse backgrounds, and I felt like they were all authentic with all of us as a group. We all really got to know each other, and I think it was just the greatest reward as a mentor for me.
That's great. Wonderful. What about Gabby?
For me, is I trust. I trust in each one because we had different times, different moments. Alma wanted to quit, and she returned. She succeeded, and Nadine was in her own life with the pregnancy this last 2 months or 3. So I trusted in her hands and health to do the work. The presentation also, it was a lot of work this 2 months for her in this kind of in this month, while you are waiting for your baby, preparing the house. So Tatiana was focused. and she was working. But you have like good times and bad times, but I trust.
It's great. Yeah. Randy? Favorite memory or a takeaway?
So I think for me, it's about being on the journey, watching these people take their journey, watching them be explorers and discover, and just being able to be there and say, no, you can do it. You can, no, you can do it. And I have a very bad joke as an analogy for this whole thing. It's very bad, but I'll
Okay.
tell you.
Give it to us.
So the background for this is that in the late 1800s in America, there were a lot of Chinese coming over in boats and to the Pacific, to San Francisco specifically, and there was mining. Mining was happening there, and it was very hard to get a job. And so there was a mine, and there was one job, and there were three individuals who showed up for the job. And one of them was a German guy, and one of them was an Italian guy, and one of them was a Chinese guy. And so the foreman said, well, okay, I'll give you all a chance. And he said to the German guy, you go break the rocks. And he said to the Italian guy, you go stack the rocks and take them out of here. And he said to the Chinese guy, you're in charge of supplies. And so they all worked. And at the end of the day, the foreman came back and he said, okay, what'd you do? And the German said, I broke out more section of this mine than anybody's ever broken. It's this whole thing. And the foreman was like, wow, I'm really impressed. And said to the Italian guy, what did you do? And the Italian guy said, well, I took the rocks and I stacked them out here, but I organized them by shape and by size. And so the big ones are here and the small ones are there. And he said, wow, that's pretty impressive. And they said, where's the Chinese guy? And they said, I don't know. We haven't seen him all day. So they walked into the mine to look for him. And they walked around a corner and the Chinese guy jumped out and said, supplies. And so and so that relates for me to this whole journey is you just have to see what's around the corner. You're not really sure what's around the corner. You're not really sure if you're doing the right thing. Maybe you misunderstood the instructions, but eventually you're going to get there. And that surprise will be the end product of what you learn and what your experience is. So I apologize for the dad joke, but it just seemed appropriate. So, and every time somebody says supplies now, this is the voice I hear in my mind for, 20 years.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Is this what your team had to put up with, Randall? All the bad jokes? Because Aline says with Randall, bad jokes abound.
Yeah,
she loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to highlight a comment that Elma made. She said that the thing is having the parameters of no politics was actually good because in our current climate, the easiest thing to do is to make a political statement. But it forces us to look inside to look inside harder and to look for something that is meaningful, so that's challenging. So for all those who are not aware, one of the Art of Letters ethos is that we want this platform to be neutral. So we avoid using, politics as a topic or, controversial things, because a lot of people come to calligraphy and art as a safe space. They want to just space out. They want to dive deep into things that are meaningful and not contentious and fractious. The world is, can be going to pieces, but you come here to art and you want to find something that's life-giving, So this is one of the reasons why we advise the mentors and mentees to avoid, making political statements. And sometimes it can be hard because you could think like you're making a statement about something neutral, like, oh, I cry for dying children, but to somebody that can be very, very sensitive. So, in the years past, we have had to to what's the word, to not just to give the parameters, but then to remind each other, like, hey, this thing that you said, it could be seen as political. So we just try to be sensitive, and we are serving the community in this way. We are not just here to, stand on our soapbox and give a statement. And there are other platforms for those things, and it's important to have art that speaks to issues. But for the art of letters, this is like, we want to keep it neutral. So Alma is reflecting on that and saying that it is important for her that we have kept this safe space. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Heather says turning off politics is a huge key. It's true. Yeah, and for me, I've seen people who are on opposite ends of opinions, but when they come to do art together, they become friends, and then they say, "Oh, you're like my family," and to me, that is very it's priceless. I mean, where do you go to get things like that? So I really appreciate the community here, the mentors, the mentees, people who have come to be friends. Yeah. So yes, I think we have gone past the hour by quite a bit. But what an interesting conversation it's been. I hope that you've all enjoyed that. I know there are many questions that you could still ask. But well, we've come to the end of the presentation. I think we should stop the recording here. And if you want, we can carry on the chat. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Judith, for hosting. As usual, you did a great job. Wonderful. Let me see now.
Judith, and
Pause.
thank you, Dorothy, for